If the society keeps celebrating success without asking questions, the result is always very dramatic. Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to BVI Channel 1 Plus. I'm your girl Bella. On this episode of Palava, two young adults went and kpai their old schoolmates because they want to make it, because the pressure to make money is on the high rise. And I keep saying, if the society does not question, and if the society keeps celebrating success without knowing how the money is earned, the results here are very drastic and dramatic. These boys, anyway, I don't need to say much. Take a look at this video and we'll talk about it.
Professional anti-kidnapping squad, as I say. So the way the whole thing happened, the entire thing, the way it happened, if I should explain from A to Z, the victim, which is my associate's old-time school friend, they were, you know, as we wanted to bring the guy to my own apartment. So we tried to convince him, and the guy, the first time we attempted to bring him, we sent him transport to come, and then he said he doesn't. He was coming on the. We actually wanted to kidnap him, have him kidnapped, and demand ransom from his parents. And then my friend.
Your idea or his
idea? It was his idea. Why it was his idea was, if I had someone to bring, I will. But the guy the victim was his own idea because they were the one that knew each other from past. So he told me, he said the family is from the guy is from a very rich family that they can bring up to 200 million naira. Which I said, okay, if you think 200 million is sure, which I said 200 million is a bit much, but how about if you are very sure of 200 million? How about we cut it down to 150? He said, well, okay, but that's no problem. So then we tried to bring the guy again. This time we said the guy should come and pick up a laptop to use and do work and all that, because I'm a producer, and we said we should come and pick up a laptop he can be using, which was all a lie. We never had a laptop we were willing to give him. We just wanted to lure him to come. So before he came, we went out to buy a big Ghana must go, and we bought chains and padlocks. So when the guy was coming, we already had a cutlass in the house, and my associate, which is the victim's friend, his own weapon was a stick that he had nails nailed on to it. So
you all planned to kill him?
Yes, we both did, but at first the intention wasn't to kill him, but I will say everything how we led to killing him. So when the victim came to the house, my associate, being his old-time friend, welcomed him, and they talked about how they used to be together in army cantonments together. So while they were talking, myself and my associate, we were chatting on WhatsApp, talking about how we would make everything go right that day. So myself and my associate agreed that I should go inside, and our music was playing. We were playing loud music that day. So myself and my associate agreed that I go inside and bring out our weapons, which mine was a cutlass and his was a stick nailed nails on it. So when I came out, my own job that day was to say words to scare the victim and put fear in his body, to inject fear in his body. At first we were both scared and panicking too, but then when we noticed that we were successfully injecting fear to the victim's body, we became like more in control. And then I started saying words like, there's a way you behave and after you leave this place successfully, and there's also a way you act and you never leave this place freewhere, And then when I told the victim to sit on the ground, and which he did, and then his old-time friend, being my associate, told him to sit down. Then I told my associate, which was his own job, put the chain to his leg and put the padlocks and everything. So when we had him chained to the ground, we made videos and took pictures of him, which was intended to send to his family. And then when we made the whole video, my associate called me inside the room, and he told me, he said, Tony, we have all the videos and the pictures we need now. But as I mentioned, this guy is a friend of mine from long years back, and he knows me, he knows my auntie, he knows everything about me, he knows my family, which if we let him go, he will definitely bring his people to and that will leave a trace to him, and if they have a trace to him, will also implicate myself, Anthony. So he said we should silence him, which means we should kill him, that we should not let him go. So now when we've said, oh, okay, that's thoughtful, and then he said we should go and kill him, then we both went inside, then he turned the light off. That's my associate. Then after he turned the light off, I went behind the victim, and I held him from behind him. I choked him, and then I held him to around a minute, and I was feeling tired already, but he was still alive, but I was feeling tired. So I told my associate, that is the victim's friend, to hold him, to continue the choking, to hold him. So when he did, and we noticed that the guy is quiet already, which he was confirmed dead. So we had rope, which we used to tie the victim because he was too heavy, because he's not someone we can just lift and dispose. So we decided to tie him and put in the Ghana must go bag we bought earlier.
So how were you able to put him in the Ghana must go bag?
Yeah, we had him tied, like we fold him and tied him so that he will fit in the bag. So when we successfully put him in, it wasn't easy putting him in the bag, but we did, because we were two, so we were able to put him in the bag and zip him. And then when we did that, we planned on, we thought of a few places we can go dispose him, which we said we are not very familiar with this place. If we go there, we don't know, maybe we might meet securities or people like that. So we said we should go to a more familiar road that we already know. So when we agreed on a place that we are more familiar with, so myself and my associate, we lifted the bag and placed it on my associate's head, and then he lifted the bag and took it outside our compound. That is the entrance. We had no gate, so he took it outside. That was around, I'm not very sure of the time, but I'll say with the way the weather is outside.
Who is this associate?
This is
okay, great.
So when he placed the bag on his head and brought it out, so my associate said it wouldn't be okay if we went with just this bag. How about we go with like our working tools, which is my microphone and headset and maybe just backpacks, because I do music production. So he said if we had those things carried along to people, it will look like we're going for a regular outside job. So which we did. And then when he placed the bag containing the victim and also our studio working tools, he told me to wait there while he went to bring bikemen to come pick up the Ghana must go and the rest things. So when he went out there and he brought 2 bikes, and then we both lifted the bag containing the victim. We lifted the bag and placed the bag on the bike, making sure that it doesn't touch the bike man's back. So as we placed the bag on the bike. We left a space in between the bag and the bike man, so I could sit in between the bag and the bike man, so I can just try controlling the bag while he drove off. So when he was riding the bike off himself, that is my associate, he took his own bag, and which were containing just clothes and were not really anything, and my microphone stand, and so making it look like we're going for an outside job. Then we got to the place where we wanted to dispose him. We looked around, making sure nobody was coming and that no other bikes were coming, because my place where I rented an apartment is a remote area. It's like an outskirts. So when we got there and we watched carefully, making sure nobody was coming, when there was nobody, we dragged the bag into the bush and unzipped it and poured out the victim there. So the next day,
At that time, you could confirm that he was dead, and which location did you dispose him of? What time?
I'm not sure of the time. But I should say around 8, 9, 10 p.m. So when we disposed him, we poured out the bag, we poured him out of the bag, and then we took the sack and put it inside one of the bags we were carrying, and we returned it back home. So the next morning, I called my dad and said I was coming to his place, and I told my dad to send me 15,000 naira for transport that both of us can get there, because his family and my family, they lived in the same area, because we were born and raised in the same area, so our families are not far from each other. So we went back home. So we
Hold on. How about the money, the ransom?
I'm getting there. So after he told us, because he assured me that this family is a very rich family and they could provide up to 200 million, which I said that is a long money, but if you're very sure, how about we got it to 150? So when we got to Ikorodu, being our family's place, I called the victim's family with the victim's number, and then I told them I was driving, because that night they were calling the victim, like trying to ask him where he was and all that. So but I didn't pick. But when I called, I told them I didn't pick because I was driving to Bayelsa. I told them I was driving to Bayelsa, which was all the lie. And then when I told the person I was driving to Bayelsa, then I demanded the ransom of 150 million, which my associate told me they were able to provide. That was when the victim's mother picked the call. So she begged us and was like, okay, how about she brings 50 million? So immediately she said, how about she brings 50 million? My associate ended the call and told me, and he said, didn't I tell you this family is so rich? I told you they were so rich and they could provide this money. But why she said 50 was because maybe she doesn't want to go far at first. She just wants to, maybe pricing and all that. So I said, okay. He said, let's not worry. Then I called again, but this time it was the victim's sister, telling us that our mother only made mention of that 50 million out of fear, that when someone asks you for 150, that how can you possibly say you don't have it, or you want to say you have one out of 150. So she then told me that even her mom now, the fear and the panicking has made them take her to the hospital. So the girl herself was not like, okay, how about she herself provide 5 million naira, which I told my associate, and then my associate told me, he said no, that they are just trying to play games with us. And I said, are you sure about this? Then I started seeing I started seeing signs that this family aren't really rich as he claimed. So as they said, she said 5 million naira. I said, oh, okay. At first we kicked out that now we don't do that. Even if she was going to do the 5 million naira, it was nothing towards that. So then I called her and I generated this account that they were accounts that to receive money. They are the kind of account that when you want to use them to receive money, you have 15 minutes time frame to send money to it. If you don't within that 15-minute time frame, the account will be shut down. So I sent them the first account and she said, oh, okay, she cannot send 5 million, that she doesn't have it. So the account got shut down.
I keep saying, who is mounting pressure in our young people? Who is it the governments have failed us, or the parents are not looking into their children? Because the amount of making money, I want to quick success syndrome in our society these days is too much. The amount of quick success syndrome. Tell me why a 17-year-old boy would want to be driving a G-Wagon without having any. You're not doing anything. You are not working. You don't even know your pillar to post, but you want to have 150 million. You want to be controlling 150 million. The amount of pressure in our society these days is alarming. Let's just be honest about it. Because if it were not pressure, tell me why these young adults, these young people, Elube, the 20 or 25 years, would summon the courage to buy somebody. Another one is, you see old friends. So when some people start DMing you, start saying let's link up, and start doing let's link up. Most of the times they don't have good intentions. You know when your circle, when my circle, when your circle is beyond people in Maze, cut your circle, because most of the times these are the things that make people think of other things. Because most times you see young people are now resorting to Yahoo, forest trading, and I say, oh, you call your friends. They are not your friends. Let me tell you the brutal truth. People should put people in their place. You see these people you call your friends, they are not your friends. Some people, your colleagues, my classmates, my schoolmates, everybody, it's not your friend. If you know what jealousy, what envy can do in people, let's leave the government aside. I will come to that. If you know, if you have money, if you know say you get money, if you know say you are wealthy, most times wealthy people, they don't tell people their whereabouts. Wealthy people, when you come to their house to look for their children or to see somebody, they will ask you questions because they know that people are envious of their wealth. If you know that your family in this country is at least well-to-do, you should be careful, because this is why those children It's not even children. Those boys lured that guy because they know at some point their family at least can pay some money. Now they lured the guy. They now lure the guy. Look at what the other guy is saying in the confessional. He say the boy know him auntie. Say if they free him, say he go cast. That is why you should be very, very careful. If your circle is 3 friends, please manage your 3 friends for your own mental health, for safety reasons. Because security in this country is not guaranteed. Security in Nigeria these days is not guaranteed. Now let's come down to the government. Because if there were jobs, these things are not supposed to be happening. This is what the society is now. This is what Nigeria is. Say if you are a decent person earning a decent living, you don't be anybody. You say you be who? They start asking you who you be. You just somebody in traffic. They start asking you. You know who I am? You know who I am? That's society. This is society for you. Everybody is not the Nollywood, the film industry. They're now promoting the quick success syndrome. This is the result of the quick success syndrome in our society. Ebala, they pluck the person. They cut the person. This is the result of quick success syndrome. If you don't know it now. The politicians are not interested for Nigeria to be an ideal civil society. What they are more interested is what they will gain. In the country, everybody will feel relaxed. It's not as if that they are not doing, but the rate of this quick success syndrome in our society now is very, very alarming. Look at the family now. They've lost their young. They don't negotiate with kidnappers. They catch them and they do real time. They serve their time. They serve time. They need it in an ideal civil society. If you watch Oyibo, see what in they stop for the other country. I don't need to name names. In an ideal civil society, the system works. It's not as if they don't have the record of homicide or robbery and all those things, but they catch them. They don't catch these ones, and they deal with them. The Federal Bureau, they investigate you. If you say your money they enter anyhow, they investigate you. The cycle continues. The cycle just continues. Quick success syndrome, they lead anywhere. Rather, it will lead you to your doom. Okay, look at these boys now. Nigeria now. Nigeria. Either they finish their life in jail or they leave them. Justice will take its course. Justice, of course. I hope and I pray justice takes its course. And I comfort the families of the boy where them by, because it is really, really sad. That's it from me to you. I'm your girl, Bella. Palava, they finish. Let's continue the conversation on the comment section.